to the well that never runs dry. Drink of the water, come and thirst no more. Come all you sinners, come find his mercy. Come to the table, he will satisfy. Taste of his goodness, find what you're looking for. For God so loved the world that he gave us his one and only Son to save us. Whoever believes in him will live forever. Come lay them down at the foot of the cross. Jesus is waiting there with open arms. Come on! For God so loved the world that he gave us his one and only Son to save us. Whoever believes in him will live forever. The power of hell forever defeated. Now it is well. I'm walking in freedom. For God so loved the world. Praise God, from whom all blessings flow. Praise Him, for the wonders of his love. Praise God, from whom all blessings flow. Praise him, for the wonders of his love. For God so loved the world that he gave us his one and only Son to save. For God so loved the world that he gave us his one and only Son to save us. Whoever believes in him will live forever. The power of hell forever defeated. Now it is well. I'm walking in freedom. For God so loved the world. Bring all your failures, bring your addictions. Come lay them down at the foot of the cross. Jesus is waiting. God so loved the world. You unravel me with a melody. You surround me with a song of deliverance from my enemies till all my fears are gone. 'Cause I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. From my mother's womb, you have chosen me. Love has called my name. I've been born again into your family. Your blood flows through my veins. And I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a Sing it this morning. I am surrounded by the arms of the Father. I am surrounded by songs of deliverance. We've been liberated from our bondage. We're the sons and the daughters. Let us sing our freedom. Oh, 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 You split the sea so I could walk right through it. My fears were drowned in perfect love. You rescued me so I could stand and sing. I am a child of God. And you split the sea so I could walk right through it. My fears were drowned in perfect love. You rescued me so I could stand and sing. I am a child of God. Yes, I am a child of God. I am a child of God. Oh, I am a child of God. Full of faith, yes, I am a child of God. Oh, I am a child of God. Well, I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God.
Well, hey, good morning, everybody. Thanks a lot for spending some time with us. Happy middle of September. I can't believe it is already September 13th. Now, if you don't know this or not, we are actually gathering live in person this morning. If you're watching around Sunday, around 10 o'clock, we're actually in person live. And if you're watching this then, you're actually seeing pretty much exactly what we're doing. I mean, I'm recording this early. We recorded things early. We hope to have our actual live feed up and running next week. No guarantees, but we'll see what happens. But hey, if it's not Sunday morning and you're watching this later on, we just want to say thank you so much for spending time with us and taking time out of your schedule to spend some time with us. But listen, if you're live online with our chat feature, just go ahead and go down to the bottom in the chat. Let us know you're here. Let us know where you're from. We would love to just say hi and get to know you. We've got people from California and Colorado and different places watching. So we're really excited about this opportunity, and we're going to continue this opportunity as we go. So we'll see what happens with our live feed next week. If that doesn't work, we're going to go ahead and record. And so everybody's talking about the same thing. Listen, if you're watching this later and you haven't discovered us online yet, you can go to online.fbchiawatha.org, or you can go to our website, fbchiawatha.org, and you can click on our online experience. And you can check us out every Sunday morning at 10 o'clock. And if you're out driving around in our area at 9:20, this same message gets played on KNZA radio. So wherever you're at, we're trying to get this content into your hands as best we can all the time. Again, this Wednesday night, we've got Wednesday Night Live, so you need to be ready to check that out. We've got Breakout Kids Club at 5:30. We've got Club 56 at 6. And then we've got the Crew 78 beginning at 6:30. And so we want to make sure if you've got kids between kindergarten and 8th grade, we want to make sure you're getting that content. You can find that out. The websites have been running across the bottom for you. So we just want to make sure that you're getting everything that we're trying to give to you. You can get our app if you don't have that yet. But I tell you what, you got to go to your app store, download the FBC app. All of our teachings there, everything that you need to know about what's going on is located there. We got events, all sorts of stuff, okay? So we're really excited. So listen, this week, next week, subsequent weeks, when we're in person, we're requiring masks, so we're asking everybody to please wear their masks whenever they come in. We've got hand sanitizer, we've got masks here if you don't have one. So we're trying to take all the precautions we can to make sure you're safe. So whenever we gather in person, wear your mask, then, just hang out with it. We'll be here about an hour. Just wear your mask and use hand sanitizer because we want to keep everybody safe. I tell you what, let's just jump right into today's conversation by me asking you a question. So I'm really wondering, how are you doing? Really, how are you doing? No, let me pause right there. If you kind of hear something, I'm recording this late Friday night, and it's raining outside, and we got this big metal roof. So if you hear some background noise, those of you that might pay attention to that, it's rain. All right, let's just get to it. How are you doing? That's a tricky question, isn't it? That's a hard question to answer because it's complicated. Especially right now with everything going on. My guess is that if I asked you, hey, how are you doing? And you were to give me one word on really how you were doing, it would change from day to day, week to week, maybe even hour to hour. So listen, if you're chatting with us online, if you're here watching this at 10 o'clock and you're chatting along with us, go ahead and down in that little chat box, no curse words, but just give me maybe one or two words with how you're doing right now. See, there's the rain, right? Love that sound. But see, it's a tough question to really answer honestly. Maybe you feel numb. Maybe you're angry. Maybe you still feel disconnected. Maybe you're irritated. Maybe you're just over it all, right? Maybe you feel unsettled. Maybe some of you are happy. Maybe you're relieved. Maybe you're tense. Maybe you feel all of these things over the course of a day or a week or even an hour, depending on the situation. Maybe the littlest thing sets you off. Maybe some of you have a little bit more patience because of the situation that life has put us in, right? And I tell you what, I think that what I want us to do is to be aware of those emotions and to know that it's okay. That whatever emotions you're feeling right now with everything in our world that's going on, it's okay. But just be aware of them, because I think this is some of the most emotional time I've ever had in my life, and maybe some of the most emotional time you've ever faced. Now listen, Friday, when I'm recording this, okay, Friday is September 11th. Today, for me, today, for you, Friday is September 11th. 19 years ago, America changed. At least for a little while. 19 years ago, almost 3,000 people were killed. Now I can venture to guess that almost every one of us can tell exactly where we were, what we were doing, who we were with, whenever we saw those planes go into the Twin Towers, whenever we heard about the plane crashed in the field, whenever we heard about it going into the Pentagon. I can almost guarantee you that all of us who were alive then and have memories can remember where we were and what we're doing. And I hope that time, that event can be remembered, because we need to hearken back to those things at times. And for a lot of us, September 11th is a hard day for other reasons as well. And so from 19 years ago all the way up till today, maybe September 11th and this time of the season has created more emotions in us than really we've expected. Now, I would venture to guess that we've all had this vast range of emotions. And I bet we've had a hard time labeling them, letting alone know what to do with them and if they're okay and how do I feel when I mean, all of these things. So today, we're going to begin a series, as you can see, called Emotions. And for the next few weeks, I want us to look at our emotions. Now listen, there's no way we can look at all of the emotions, but I want us to examine some of the emotions that Jesus had. I mean, God gave us emotions. They are from God. And what I want us to do is to look at some of the emotions of Jesus, what he endured, what he felt, how he reacted. And I want to help us understand that the emotions that we feel, that Jesus understands, and he wants to walk alongside us because of the emotions we see from Jesus. So I did a little research on this, and one place is like, oh, there's 5 emotions from Jesus. Well, there's more than that, right? I can guarantee you. And one article I read that said that Jesus expressed 39 different emotions in the Gospels. Now listen, for a guy like me that's not that emotional, and I know that's not surprising to a lot of you, but I don't know if I could actually list 39 emotions. Now listen, I'll be honest. For those of us who have had or maybe have teenage daughters, we've probably experienced all 39 and then some within the course of maybe one conversation, right? But the point is that Jesus had this full range. He was fully God and fully man, and he had this full range of our human emotions, and what he expressed was real, and how he reacted was real. For example, let me give you a couple. Whenever Jesus was looking over Jerusalem and he saw all of the people that he loved and that were disconnected from God, and he felt this sincere grief. I mean, they were missing out on all that God wanted for them. Now listen, whenever there were religious leaders that cared more about rules and law than they did people, Jesus had this righteous anger toward their hypocrisy and their lack of love. Another time when 72 followers had come back and they were talking about all the cool things that God had done to make a difference, Jesus was overwhelmed with a sense of joy at the faithfulness of God through his people. Lazarus, when Lazarus died, Jesus' good friend Lazarus, Jesus had the power to bring Lazarus back from the dead, and he did it. But you know what? Even when he was dead, he was sad and heartbroken, and he cried. And even before the cross, whenever he was in the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus knew what was about to come. And he felt lonely. He felt anxiety. He was overwhelmed with the pain that he knew was coming. So to start our conversation on emotions, we're going to look at one of these 39. Now listen, this series is not 39 weeks long. I mean, maybe it could be. We might, we're not going to do that. But it could be 39 weeks long if we wanted to look at all of them, but we're not going to do that. What I wanted to do is to start this off with an understanding and help us understand this emotion, because this emotion that Jesus gives to us, actually, I think it can maybe help us navigate the current state of affairs with COVID-19. We've got elections coming and the West Coast is completely on fire. Colorado is on fire now with snow. There's all sorts of crazy stuff. Everything's crazy. Everything is crazy. And a lot of it's painful and it hurts. And we don't know what to do with it. And we wrestle and we're unsure and we're scared. And we have all of these emotions. And so today we're going to look at this one emotion that Jesus has in this great story, and that emotion is compassion. Listen, if you're online chatting with us, just type compassion down in the chat just to make sure that you're still tracking with us. So what we're going to do today is we're going to jump into Luke's gospel. Now listen, Luke was a first century doctor, super smart, as educated as anybody could be. And what he wrote down in his letter it's actually a letter to a guy named Theophilus. Now listen, we don't know a lot about Theophilus. We just know from the salutation that Theophilus was kind of an important guy. And so Luke is writing Theo that a lot of people have undertaken to write down and do a good account of all that Jesus had done. And what Luke says, he's like, hey, listen, I've investigated it all. I've interviewed the eyewitnesses and the eyewitnesses of the eyewitnesses and their friends and neighbors. And I've done everything I can to give you an accurate account of all of this Jesus stuff. And listen, and then after Jesus resurrects, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to write down another letter to you and tell you everything that the Holy Spirit did in building up the people and starting the church and all that. So listen, that's in the book of Luke, the first part. The book of Acts is the second part. You really got to read it for yourself. So today we're going to jump into Luke's account of Jesus in chapter 7. And we're going to be looking at chapter 7, verses 11 through 15 in the New Living Translation. And this is how Luke records it. He says, soon afterwards, Jesus and his disciples went to the village of Nain. Now listen, let me give you a little understanding here. Jesus and his disciples were in Capernaum, so that's kind of up north a little bit. Nain is a little bit further south. It's actually about 52 kilometers or 33 miles, give or take, right? Think about it this way. It's like walking out the front door of this building here at the church and then walking to Seneca, okay? No cars, no buses, just sandals, okay? So they've walked a long way, and this large crowd, pick it up with me, this large crowd followed him. A funeral procession was coming out of the city as they approached the village gate of Nain. This young man, who was a widow's only son, and a large crowd from the village was with her. Now we don't know how long it took him to get to Nain, or whether the crowd started in Capernaum and followed him, and they picked up some stragglers along the way. We don't know. But we do know that this story is important enough for the eyewitnesses and the eyewitnesses of the eyewitnesses to tell it, retell it, write it down. Okay, so this is important. So listen, Jesus and the gang coming into the village of Nain, they see this funeral coming out of the village gate. And just as they're getting ready to enter, Jesus sees this funeral procession. Now listen, the funeral procession would have looked much different than anything that we're used to. Because first of all, they'd have been walking, okay? There was no hearse, no police escort, no limousines, no nothing. And what was interesting is during that time, they might actually have what would be called professional, what we would call anyway, professional mourners. That folks would actually, that was their job. They would pay people to come to the funeral to play flutes and tambourines and different instruments and to wail loudly, to cry and just cry out in sadness. And if I remember right, the louder the people cried out, the bigger the processional and all of the noise and all of the stuff that was going on, the more important the person. But in any event, that may not be right, but that's just kind of what I remember. So Jesus, this crowd is following Jesus. And this crowd is following this processional for the son of a widowed woman. And that is what is significant. Now, we don't know any details about the son, his age, how he died, how old his mom was, how his dad died. We don't. All we know is that this woman's only son is dead. And that's important because as a widow, her son was her connection to society, was her connection to income. Crazy as it sounds, that's the way it was. And more than likely, this young man had just died the day before. The reason we know that is because in that time, they didn't have formaldehyde and embalming equipment. They didn't have any of that stuff. So when somebody died, they literally washed the body, put perfume on it, wrapped it in strips of cloth, and then they either buried it that day or the next day. Because just like fish and family come into the house after 3 days, it starts to stink, right? So just the kid, he's dead. The mother is heartbroken. So imagine that this mom who's already lost her husband, this boy's father, she's now a widow, loses her only son, her only connection. Think about the emotion that this mother would have. She's at her deepest moment of pain, anguish, heartache. I mean, pick an emotion, right? And Luke records this. When the Lord saw her, his heart overflowed with compassion. Don't cry, he said. And these words right here, when the Lord saw her, I don't know if you know this or not, but there are and you can look it up, there's a lot of different variations, but there are no less than 40 different times in the gospel accounts when it says that Jesus saw someone. Now that may not really make a lot of sense. You would think, well, yeah, Jesus saw everybody. But when it's recorded in the Gospels, it means something. See, it's not just like running into somebody at Walmart. Hey, I saw you at Walmart the other day. No, this Greek word really means to notice, to see, to really see, to look beyond the surface and to really look. He really saw them. Think about it this way, guys. We see lots of things. Now listen, I can see a deer about 300 yards away on the edge of the tree line when I'm driving 70 miles an hour down the highway, but I can't find the salsa in the refrigerator. Right? Ladies, you see things, you notice things that we don't. You notice that if hairs are out of place, right? You notice when outfits don't match. You notice that when somebody's feeling a certain, you notice a lot more than what we men do. And the writers of the Gospels say that Jesus saw someone, he really saw them. He noticed them. He cared for them, took heed of them. He experienced that person. That's what the Greek word for saw really means. It experienced. He was there with them. And the pain that this woman was feeling would have just been incredible. Heartache, sadness, anguish, anger, betrayal. All sorts of emotions. This mom's losing her only son. Have you ever had those types of emotions? Have you ever been angry or anguished or upset or betrayed or hurt or had pain or heartache or fear? My guess is yeah. That we've all experienced those emotions. Maybe you're afraid that your marriage is struggling. Maybe you're angry that you can't pay your bills. Maybe you're sad, you feel betrayed, you've got pain. Anytime you feel those emotions and so many more, do you know what is happening? Do you know what Jesus is doing? Let me tell you. Because when the Lord saw her, the Lord sees you and he feels for you. He is watching. He understands. He sees through this veneer, this facade that we have, and he sees our hearts, our souls. And he felt and experienced the same thing that this woman did. And whenever he looked upon her, whenever he saw her, I'm going to go back. Whenever he saw her, he had compassion. So much compassion that his heart overflowed. And the Greek word for this, I'm not even going to try to say this. I've listened to it 2 or 3 times. It's like splachnan. It just sounds terrible, all right? But the word compassion in the Greek, it literally means from the bowels, from the gut, from deep inside. So when Jesus saw this woman, his gut, his insides just welled up. And he felt it deep in her soul. Maybe you felt that way at a time or two. Maybe you have just seen something or experienced something or been to someone's funeral or even a birth or whatever, and you just feel just this amazing stuff inside you. And sometimes it's hurt and pain and terrible, and sometimes it's joy. But this splagnon, I can't even say it, is compassion. And it comes from the gut. It comes from the bowels, because Jesus saw this woman's pain. He noticed her, and he notices you. I don't know who needs to hear this today, but I'm going to put it up here that the Lord God knows exactly what you're going through. No matter your hurt, pain, frustration, anger, betrayal, anything. He knows, and he cares more about you than you could ever imagine. He sees your pain. He hears your heart. He knows that you feel desperate. He knows that you feel like you can't catch your breath. He knows when your pulse is quickened and you're just having so much anxiety. He knows when you feel like you're underwater and completely drowning. The Lord sees you. He knows your pain. He has compassion for you. He sees you. So Jesus sees this grieving mother and her hurts and her pain, and he grieves for her, and then he tells her, hey, don't cry. And then Luke writes this, then he walked over to the coffin and he touched it, and the bearers stopped. Young man, he said, I tell you, get up. And see, what's really interesting is what Jesus does. Now, see, this coffin isn't anything like we could imagine. It's not like the coffins we see today, right? I mean, it's basically, think of it this way. A piece of plywood on an axle with a couple of bicycle tires, and a guy's carrying it along, kind of like a buggy thing. I mean, it's nothing fancy. The body would have been wrapped in linen, strips of linen. Look at Lazarus. Look at Jesus. That's what they did, right? And the body would have been exposed. There was no cover on it. There was probably not even a sheet over it, but I'll explain that in a little bit, because it would be defiled. And so what Jesus does, he walks up to this processional and he stops the people who are taking the body out. And you know what he does? He touched the coffin. He touched it. Now you may not know this, but that's the most shocking thing in this whole story to this point. Because see, this was scandalous. This was unheard of. Because you do not touch dead people. There was a Jewish law that basically said, if you touch a dead body, or you touch anything that has touched a dead body, because the dead body has touched it, if anything touches a dead body that you touch, or touches a dead body and you touch a dead body, then you become unclean physically and spiritually immediately. Immediately. Dead body, boom, touch, unclean, go away. You got to do this whole ceremonial washing thing. You got to purify yourself multiple times, do all of this stuff before you never go back to temple, and basically anything else. Jesus walks up to this processional and touches the dead boy. Jesus crossed a line. You see, the religious law says, listen, you can't touch a dead body. And this Jesus guy, this guy who's claiming to be a prophet, he is a prophet, he's claiming to be the Son of God, he touches something that the law says makes him completely unclean and defiled. When Jesus touched that coffin, man, he crossed a line. And you know what? That's one of the things I love most about Jesus, if I'm just going to be honest. You know why? Because Jesus is a line crosser. I mean, he crosses a line that he was a rule breaker. Read it. Matthew, Mark, Luke, you'll see it. He broke the religious rules. He broke the system. And every single time religion would draw a line in the sand, Jesus would just cross it. And do you know why? Because love crosses lines. And Jesus crosses lines for you, whatever you feel right now. Maybe it's keeping God at a distance. You need to understand, wherever you are emotionally, he crosses that line for you and for me because he loves us. Jesus is a line crosser, a rule breaker. And he will cross whatever line he has to get to you. He ignored the religious policies, and he reached out and he touched the coffin. He touched that boy. No boundaries, no rules, no laws can keep Jesus from expressing his depth of compassion and love for you, because love crosses lines no matter what. So Jesus walks up, just picture it, processional coming out, tambourines, flutes, people wailing and crying, a huge crowd following Jesus. There's lots of people around, and he says, hey, stop. And he walks up, and everybody's expecting something, but nobody expected him to touch the coffin, I'll guarantee it. And you know what happens next? Probably you do. Because as soon as Jesus says, hey, get up, the dead boy sat up and began to talk, and Jesus gave him back to his mother. I mean, this kid coming out of the gate, been dead at least 24 hours, maybe a little less, maybe a little more, came back to life because of a simple touch and a simple word from Jesus. So let me ask you this. Let me make this personal. Where in your life do you just need a simple touch from Jesus? Where in your life do you need to hear the words, hey, get up? I mean, where are you down? What is dead in your life right now that Jesus can just touch and bring back to life? Whenever you feel down, He can lift you up. Maybe some of you just need the touch from the author and creator of life. Just one touch, one moment, just one word, one sense that He is there for you and that He cares. And let me tell you, if you haven't had that sense yet and you're not understanding that and you're not believing it, listen to my words. Get up. Jesus loves you. His compassion is overwhelming for you no matter where you are and what you've done or what you're doing. He loves you. He's going to cross the line for you. And He will do that every day because love crosses lines. So allow Him to do that in some area of your life. He wants to speak hope and bring healing into you. But you got to allow Him to do that. So what line are you putting out there that you're like, oh, Jesus, I mean, you just can't cross this, whatever. He's going to cross it because I know this to be true, that nothing is going to keep God from pursuing and loving you and loving me. Just one touch. The Lord saw her, overwhelmed with compassion. He reached out, touched, and spoke, and life came about. No matter where you are, no matter what you're facing, no matter what you're going through, no matter whether you think the walls are too high or the lines are too wide and you've messed up too much or whatever it is, nothing will keep you separated from God. He will continue to love and pursue you no matter what. And you know what? I think that He asks us to do the same because we've got to have compassion towards others as well. And you know what? Whenever we do, see, it's almost impossible to describe what this did for this grieving widow. Because just moments before, she had nothing. Not only did she lose her husband, but she lost her son. She lost her way to support herself. See, in that culture, if you didn't have a husband or a son and you were a woman, you couldn't create income. You either had to be a beggar or a prostitute, or maybe go into slavery. So Jesus, His compassion, His touch, and His words, He not only brought that young man back to life, but He restored hope in his mother. See, He wants to do the same for you. He wants to resurrect. He just wants to bring back to life maybe that dream that has died because of COVID. Maybe you faced a situation and things have gone in the tank, and maybe He just wants to touch that and bring it back to life for you. Maybe you felt down and He just is looking at you right now through my words and He's saying, hey, I know you're down. I see you. Get up. Get up. And see, whenever He does that, whenever you allow Him to speak truth and love into your life, then He restores our hope. And then we can restore hope to others as well. Because see, here's the bottom line. Jesus has compassion for us because He understands our pain. He wants to heal you. He wants to bring those dead places back to life, to restore hope to your soul. No matter what you faced over the last several months, no matter what you will face in the months to come, I don't know if it's going to get worse before it gets better, but I don't think it's going to get better before it gets worse. You know what I'm saying? I'm not sure what's going to happen over the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months. There's no way to tell. But I do know that He knows, and that no matter what it is, He notices you. He sees you. He loves you. He has compassion for you because He understands your pain, and He will cross whatever line He has to because He will never stop pursuing and loving you. Please allow me to pray for us today. Heavenly Father, You know where each and every one of us are emotionally. And today, Father, Reach your loving hand out and touch those who have dead places in their lives. Reach out and touch those who feel like that, well, they're too far gone or separated or too far away. And God, just speak words of get up into those who've fallen down. Restore the hope in those who feel hopeless. Father, have the compassion on all of us today and each day to come. Cross whatever line you have to show your love, and allow us to cross whatever line we have to love others as well. Father, bring restoration, bring healing, bring life, bring hope back to our souls. Father, we thank you for seeing, for noticing us. And Father, give us the wisdom to know what to do with what we've heard today, and the compassion and the courage to do it. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. Well, hey friends, thanks so much for spending some time with us, whether it's Sunday morning around 10 or later in the week or whenever you're watching this. Again, a huge thank you. And again, you hear me say this every week if you've been around any time at all. The most important thing I'm going to say to you in line with all of this is that you are loved. I hope you have a great week. Hope to either see you in person next week or see you right here at 10 a.m. or whenever you're watching it. Thanks for joining us, and have a great rest of your week.
I searched the world, but it couldn't fill me. A man's empty praise and treasures that fade are never enough. And you came along and put me back together. And every desire is now satisfied here in your love. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing is better than you. Tell him this morning, I'm not afraid to show you my weakness, my failures and flaws. Lord, you've seen them all, and you still call me friend. 'Cause the God of the mountain is the God of the valley. And there's not a place your mercy and grace won't find me again. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing, and nothing is better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing, and nothing is better than you. Sing it, church. You turn mourning to dancing. You give beauty for ashes. You turn shame into glory. You're the only one who can. You turn graves into gardens. You turn bones into armies. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who can. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing, nothing is better than you. Oh, there's nothing You turn shame into glory. You're the only one who can. You turn graves into gardens. You turn bones into armies. You turn sea